It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. On the show today, the series between England and India kicked off today after a series of controversies plagued the face-off, from experts slamming the rebranding of the trophy itself to what both sides were tackling off the field. Can India really silence all doubters, with new faces and fresh comebacks highlighting a young Indian 11? Staying with cricket, is this World Test Championship win by the Proteas, the South African cricket team, the most symbolic moment in the sport today? And what does South Africa cricket captain Themba Bavuma and India's MS Dhoni have in common? Wait to know more on that. And even as West Asia is on the boil with rising tensions between Israel and Iran, sport has definitely been one of the casualties, with the AFC showing double standards in the face of tragedy. Watch to know more, but first a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with football, the FIFA Club World Cup has had a mixed day. European champions Paris Saint-Germain were stunned by Brazilian champions Botafogo 1-0. Igor Jesus scored the only goal of the match. In another game, Inter Miami outclassed Porto 2-1 in their Group A fixture. Despite taking a 1-0 lead, Porto lost to Lionel Messi's brilliance. Messi rolled back the clock with his 54th minute free kick. Meanwhile, the reason behind Kylian Mbappe's absence from Real Madrid's Club World Cup opener has been revealed. Mbappe was admitted in the hospital for stomach flu. He's been discharged after getting treated and has resumed training, but doubts remain on his return to action. Madrid next face Pachuca on the 23rd of June. The English Football Association has fined Tottenham $100,000 for homophobic chanting from their supporters. The incident pertains to the game against Manchester United last year. Fine was brought down from $200,000 following an appeal by the club. Spurs were also charged by the FA for a similar incident against Arsenal earlier. In news from tennis, former world number one Rafael Nadal has received a special honor from the King of Spain. The King of Clay was named as Marquess of Levante de Mallorca, the island where Nadal was born and currently lives. The King said it is to honor Nadal's contribution to the sport. And world number one Yannick Sinner has been knocked out of the Halle Open. The Italian lost to Alexander Bublik in the round of 16. Despite winning the first set, Sinner lost the match 6-3, 3-6. 4-6. For the first time since August 2024, Sinner has lost to someone other than Carlos Alcaraz. He recently lost to the Spaniard in the French Open final. It is truly the dawn of a new era. Watching Shubman Gill take centre stage as India men's cricket team captain, you could sense the nerves at the toss itself, losing his first toss as India captain and being put into bat. The terse one-liners to Ravi Shastri's questions, and you knew that the occasion, the moment, was definitely all too overwhelming. And can you blame the young skipper, really? Captaining India's national side is a big deal, and to do it in Test cricket against England in England, it's bound to be nerve-wracking. Now let's come to the team itself, the 11 that took the field along expected lines. We were saying that if the Indian board was keen on reinforcing a young Indian outfit for the next World Test Championship cycle, the next phase, so to say, of Indian cricket itself, the most logical extension would be to pick the best young guys to replace the superstars who had exited the grand stage. So in came Sai Sudharsan and Karun Nair, making, of course, his comeback, almost like a rise from the ashes, getting to play his first in a very long time. And if you looked at the two lineups, you really saw a stark of a difference, a wide gap between the Indian 11 and the English side, purely going by experience. There are two who have completed 100 test matches. Yes, Ben Stokes and Joe Root, that's massive. And the player to have played the most test matches over in the Indian 11 is Ravindra Jadeja, 80 plus matches. Still a fair distance to go. The most experienced in that Indian playing side otherwise, KL Rahul, Jasprit Bumrah. After Jadeja, that is. How exciting a prospect this is going to be. So let's talk of the fresh faces. Sai Sudharsan, what a journey he's had from making a mark in his state side, shining in the Tamil Nadu Premier League, moving into the IPL side to play alongside Shubman Gill for Gujarat Titans, scoring tons of runs there, and then of course making it to England for India. Of course, his first day started off rather rockily, being dismissed by none other than Ben Stokes, but he received his test cap from the man who has stood tall like a wall after Rahul Dravid, Cheteshwar Pujara, and that was the icing on the cake really. Then of course there is Karun Nair. This was a man who crashed from the highs of starring in a match against the very England side that he's now come back to face, getting the internet all excited at the prospect of what we can get to witness as the days roll on. And that is what this young Indian side needs to take inspiration from if they want to be penciled into the history books when this series concludes. They need to believe in the impossible becoming possible. They need to truly show that there is no full stop, like Karun Nair did, that you do not need to have been there and done that to get a chance in the 11, like Sai Sudharsan. That when the chips are down, you will fight no matter the situation, the role that is asked of you, like KL Rahul. They need to believe that they are the very best in the business, like Jasprit Bumrah does, because this is a series like none other, one that has come under a lot of scrutiny, from the rebranding of the trophy to the Indian superstars retiring before this very big matchup, a new accidental captain to an under-fire head coach wanting his way with the team selections. An arrogant England side, on the other hand, wanting to shake off the horrors of the last few years to the promise of the unpredictable. So there's a lot riding on this contest. The test may have started on a rather grim note, with players wearing black armbands and observing a minute's silence for the victims of the Air India plane crash that took place in Ahmedabad, in the Indian city of Ahmedabad. The question is, will this young side prevent their act from getting derailed by the daunting England conditions and a history that has been ruthless? Or can they script something memorable to silence the doubters? South Africa's World Test Championship win over Australia wasn't just historic, it was transformative. A first ICC trophy in 27 years, but it meant far more than silverware. Because the moment Themba Bavuma lifted that mace at Lord's, he didn't just lift a trophy, he carried the weight of generations. A black captain at the home of cricket, holding world cricket's ultimate prize. This wasn't just a win on the scoreboard, a tick mark there to remove something that has never been in place. It was a milestone in South Africa's long fight to sporting freedom. Let's rewind just a bit. When Bavuma was appointed Proteas captain, he didn't exactly get the rousing welcome that anyone normally would. He was called a quota pick, mocked for his height. His very presence was questioned. Cricket South Africa's commitment to diversity, often enforced through quotas, has always sparked debate. And whenever a non-white player rises, the question isn't just about form. It's about whether they really belong here, on this stage. With Bavuma, the scrutiny and criticism was relentless. Race, size, body shaming, he bore it all. Till, of course, poetic justice was served at Lord's, where cricket once belonged only to the privileged few, the elite. Bavuma, a black South African, stood tall holding the mace. Imagine what a journey it's been, and he stayed unbeaten. He even fashioned that mace like a missile launcher, almost definitely trying to shoot down the haters, though the result already ensured the doubters had been put to rest. This was Bavuma and company's response to history, a history that had never been kind. South Africa was banned from international cricket for 21 years because of apartheid. The game was once a tool of exclusion. Now it's a platform for redemption. And Bavuma, he didn't just captain a team, he has championed a movement.
As much as the Aussies were saying we were chokers in the field, we never made it our thing. Chokers was not our tag to carry. We never spoke about it. although you always feel a responsibility when you wear the badge.
He took a team carrying the legacy of near misses, of not having it in them to go all the way ever, and turned them round into being world beaters, undefeated in this World Test Championship campaign, unbothered by the noise, the symbolism unmissable. Because this was an ICC title after 27 years, the same number of years Nelson Mandela spent behind bars fighting apartheid. It's the same time it takes a black man to lift an ICC trophy for South Africa. That's not coincidence, that's legacy. And it's not just South Africa's legacy, it's that of the sport itself. Because this sport, for the longest time, was known as the gentleman's game. But let's be honest, the subtext of that was the well-dressed white man's sport, especially at Lord's, the temple of that tradition. And yet, as Bavuma walked off, the same elite MCC members stood and applauded. A standing ovation that said something has changed. But this isn't the first time cricket has had a bit of a reset. Think back to 2007. India lifted the T20 World Cup under a small town captain from Ranchi, a city that has not had a major sporting representation until MS Dhoni. He led a team of unknowns, many from towns the cricketing elite had barely heard of, to victory. And that moment changed everything.
Guys coming from small-time towns are generally mentally and physically tougher than those coming from the metros. Smaller towns lack infrastructure and facilities, so players from there have to work harder.
That win took cricket from metro clubs to every gully and street in the country. Every now and then, sport undergoes a bit of a shift, a change in mindset. It reminds us that greatness doesn't come from privilege, it comes from persistence. That cricket isn't a dynasty, it's democracy, open to all. So this WTC win isn't just South Africa's moment. It's a win for the entire world of sport, because when a man once mocked for his race and size lifts cricket's biggest award, you don't just celebrate a champion, you celebrate and open the doors to change. A change etched at the home of cricket, where the sport began, and that has now given birth to a new perspective. The war between Israel and Iran has now entered its 8th day. A new player is gearing up to join Israel's strikes on Iran, the United States. And as always, when war heats up, sports is one of the casualties. Because of escalating tensions, the AFC Women's Asian Cup qualifiers have been moved from Jordan to Qatar and pushed to a later date. A smart and necessary move by the Asian Football Confederation. But here's the catch. When India's Mohan Bagan raised security concerns over playing in Iran last year, AFC didn't budge. In fact, the club was punished for refusing to travel. Our next report breaks down the double standards at play here.
Tensions between Israel and Iran have been spiraling for 8 days now. Missile and drone strikes exchanged as both sides refuse to back down, and neighboring countries are feeling the fallout. Jordan was set to host the AFC Women's Asia Cup qualifiers. 32 teams ready to battle it out in Amman from June 23rd to July 5th. But with security concerns rising, the AFC has moved the tournament to Qatar, now scheduled between July 7th and the 19th. A smart, even obvious call. When even players can't get out of the region safely, how can you expect a full-scale tournament with 32 international teams to take stage? Just ask Inter Milani's Mehdi Taremi. He couldn't even catch a flight out of Iran for the FIFA Club World Cup. His club is now planning an escape route just to get him to the US for the Club World Cup. So if locals are stuck and cannot travel, how is it fair or safe to hold a massive qualifier here? But here's the kicker. Did the AFC show this kind of flexibility last year? In October 2024, Indian football club Mohan Bagan refused to travel to Iran for their AFC Champions League 2 match against Tractor FC. Why? Security concerns after the killing of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah. They asked the AFC to move the match to a neutral venue or reschedule it. But the AFC ignored them. The result? Mohan Bagan had to withdraw, ending their campaign prematurely. If you think it's just because the women's qualifiers involves more teams or that the situation is more intense this time around, think again. During the same period, Cristiano Ronaldo's team Al Nassr was set to face Iranian side Esteghlal in the AFC Champions League elite competition. Al Nassr raised security concerns too, and the AFC swiftly moved the match to Dubai. It wasn't just Ronaldo's team. Tractor's home game against Rafshan was also shifted, and Iran's national team had to move their World Cup qualifier against Qatar to Dubai. Clearly, this did not sit well with Mohan Bagan. The AFC did the right thing moving Ronaldo's game and the women's qualifiers. But why was Mohan Bagan treated differently? Why no explanation? This is a case of glaring double standards, because player safety should never be negotiable. So why did the AFC fail to protect an Indian club under similar threats that involved many international players too? That's the question the AFC must answer.
Time for Last Serve. India is stepping into new territories in sports. The country is launching a Rugby 7 league in a bid to bolster their Olympic dream. The big challenge is to get the fans to come in. And in that regard, they are leaving no stone unturned. Take a look.
Is there space for a sport outside of cricket in India? 100%. Do you think rugby will catch the Indian imagination? 110%. An Indian team getting into the Olympics, whether it's men or women, is inevitable, and it's going to happen in the next, in our opinion, 7 to 11 years, between 2032 and 2036.
That wraps it up here on Firstpost. Do catch Sports This Week, a roundup of all that's happened in the week that's gone by. But I'll see you again on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.